Have you ever been thrown under the bus by the exact person who caused the problem? I was working at this marketing company doing social media for local businesses. My coworker Brad was the golden boy of our office. Always showed up in expensive suits, drove a nice car, had the boss laughing at all his jokes. I'd been there 3 years grinding away at my desk. Brad got hired 6 months ago and somehow already had more clients than me. Our boss Angela loved him. She'd always use Brad as an example during team meetings. Look at Brad's engagement numbers. Brad really knows how to connect with clients. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there with the same clients I've had since day one because Angela kept giving all the new accounts to Brad. Whatever, I didn't care about office politics. I just wanted to do my job and go home. But then Brad started asking me for help with his posts. At first, it was small stuff. Hey man, can you proofread this caption real quick? Do you think this image works better than that one? I figured he was just being thorough, wanted a second opinion. So I'd give him feedback and he'd thank me and that was that. But it started happening more and more. He'd swing by my desk 3 times a day asking me to look at his work. Then it turned into him asking me to actually write captions for him because he was swamped. Brad would send me the client info and photos and I'd write the whole post for him. He'd copy it word for word and submit it under his name. I should have said no, but Brad had this way of making you feel like you were doing him this huge favor. Plus, he bought me lunch a few times as a thank you. I figured what's the harm. Early November, Brad landed this massive account with a local restaurant chain. 6 locations, big budget, tons of content needed every week. Angela made a huge announcement about it in our meeting. She literally stood up and clapped for Brad. Said this was the biggest client we'd landed all year. Brad stood there grinning like he'd just won an award. That afternoon, Brad came to my desk looking stressed. He said this account was way bigger than he expected and asked if I could help him with the first month of posts. I told him that was a lot of work. He promised he'd split the commission with me under the table, $2,000. I could really use that money, so I agreed. I spent 2 whole weeks creating content for this restaurant, researched their brand, came up with campaigns, designed graphics, wrote captions, scheduled everything. Brad barely did anything except forward me emails from the client. I finished all the posts and sent everything to Brad on a Friday. He said he'd submit it to the client Monday morning for approval. Monday afternoon, Angela called an emergency meeting. Everyone had to drop what they were doing and come to the conference room immediately. I walked in and saw Brad sitting there with his arms crossed looking angry. Angela's face was red. She slammed a folder on the table and asked, "Who wants to explain why our biggest client of the year just threatened to pull their account?" My stomach dropped. Brad jumped in before anyone could speak. He said someone messed up the entire campaign and now the restaurant owner was furious. Angela asked what happened. Brad pulled up the posts on his laptop, started going through each one pointing out problems. This caption mentions a menu item they discontinued 2 years ago. This photo shows their old logo before the rebrand. This promotion references a holiday special from last Christmas. Every single post had something wrong with it. I was confused because I'd done tons of research, double-checked everything on their current website and social media. Angela turned to Brad and asked how this happened. That's when Brad looked directly at me. He said I volunteered to help him since he was overwhelmed with the account, that I insisted I knew the restaurant really well and could handle it. He told Angela he trusted me and didn't review my work before sending it to the client. My jaw literally dropped. Brad was sitting there lying through his teeth, making it sound like this was all my idea. Angela asked if that was true. I started to defend myself, but Brad cut me off. He pulled up our text messages where I'd sent him the completed posts. "See," Brad said, "he sent me everything and I just forwarded it directly to the client without checking." I tried explaining that Brad gave me all the information, that I used exactly what he provided, but Brad had an answer for everything. He said he sent me the correct info, but I must have looked at outdated sources online instead. Angela was fuming. She told me I'd cost the company thousands of dollars and damaged our reputation. I was suspended for 2 weeks without pay while they investigated. Brad kept his golden boy status and even got praise for being honest about my mistake. I went home that day feeling sick, but then I remembered something. I still had every single email Brad sent me with the client information. I took screenshots of everything. The outdated menu items, the old logos, the wrong promotional details. All of it came directly from Brad's emails to me with timestamps proving he sent it. I also had texts where Brad specifically told me not to bother calling the client directly because he'd handle all communication. During my suspension, I put together a full report with every screenshot organized by date, showed exactly how Brad gave me wrong information, then blamed me when it backfired. I sent it to Angela in HR. 3 days later, I got called back to the office. Angela looked exhausted. She apologized and said after reviewing my evidence, they realized Brad had screwed up the client research and tried to cover it by blaming me. Turns out Brad had been doing this at his last 2 jobs, taking credit for other people's work and throwing them under the bus when things went wrong. He got fired that afternoon. Angela offered me his client list and a promotion. I took both and never offered to help anyone with their work again.